Whoa, boys, light the fires and kick the tires. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure how you're feeling right now, but September is a knocking. I believe my own neck's swelling, and I might have even just peed a little bit. Yes, sir. Time to quit the talking and start doing the walking. It's our favorite time of year. Elk season is here. Just like you, all of us here at ElkBros are getting ready to hit the hills. But before we do, as your elk hunting coaches, first up, it's pregame time. Joe, myself, want to cover some last minute thoughts for you to carry along with you in the woods this fall. Then we're going to talk about how to deal with and avoid a bull hanging up on you. Those topics and our Elk Bros shout outs, along with questions from our ElkBros Mailbox. So, my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gilliam. You want to hunt elk, and they live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello again, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy our show. And for those blue collar hunters following our show and grinding it out every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, coming to you from Spring, Texas, and joining me from New Mexico, your elk hunting coach, Joe Gilliam. What's up, Joe?
Hey, man.
Can you believe it, Joe? 3 days and we're going to be in elk camp.
Yes, sir. And thank goodness, buddy, man.
Absolutely.
We get to end all the talking and start doing the walking.
Woo-wee. I'm telling you, I put my 4.5 miles in this evening.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
And it's so funny. I mean, you prepare for this stuff, and all our listeners out there, you guys, we're no different than you, man. You hear us talking about all this stuff, but gosh almighty, we talk about it all year. We get ready, and you can't wait, and boom, it's here. So it's awesome. I'm excited. We'll be seeing you in a few days, be getting the Mafia here. Got to get Av well, man. We got to get him well, man. That's got to happen.
We all our listeners out there, y'all please say a prayer for our buddy Leroy Chavez. He's been down in the weather, and we got to have him at elk camp this year. So I believe in the power of prayer, y'all. So y'all keep Joe and Mr. Chive on your prayer list, please.
Oh, appreciate that, man. Yeah. And we'll get him there. We'll get him back, man. I tell you what, elk season does wonders for somebody. So before we get going, Gilbert, there's some things that I want to make sure, take a little bit of some housekeeping here. Sure. With the season coming on us, I want everybody, all of our listeners, to know that there will be a podcast next week, September 3rd. The focus of that podcast will be peak rut and after the kill. That's what that's going to be about. The reason I'm letting you know is that, we record our shows a week in advance. So today is the August 21st, but you guys will be seeing this on the 27th. So we're basically, talking like we're going to be there on the 27th. So we do that to get all of our shows ready. So actually, when you guys are listening on September 3rd, we're going to be pounding the hills. So
yeah, buddy. Hopefully we got our hands in a warm gut pile.
Yeah. But I do want to let our listeners know that following week of September the 16th, everybody knows and everybody's been ready. We've been so consistent that our podcast comes out every Tuesday for everybody to catch. But we're not coming out of the mountains until just about that time. So there will be a podcast the week of the 16th, but not necessarily on that Tuesday will it be released. So we want you guys to know that. Just keep paying attention. If you've gone to the ElkBros website and you've joined our elk camp, I always send a letter out, an email out to everybody that that talks about the podcast, is when it's available on that day. We send a tip, or we send some kind of story, something like that, to keep everybody in the know. If you follow us on Instagram, we always let you know on Instagram. So the cool thing, though, is this. Gilbert, we're pretty excited about this, that we'll be recording a podcast, or possibly even more, from elk camp. So that's going to be something pretty special. So
I can't wait, man. We'll have the Venezuelan mafia in camp with us, and we'll have the professional mountain lion hunter out of Pennsylvania, Brendan Houlihan. We'll be breaking him in the mountains for sure.
Brendan is a legend, y'all. This guy kills more cats with his hands than
no doubt, brother. No doubt. He's a really good friend of mine. Been in the hills with me before. A guy we can ride the river with. So can't wait to get Brendan in camp with us.
I've actually had Brendan with me before. So looking forward to having that back. He's a great guy. So you're going to be in our camp. So you're going to be able to. We don't know how unleashed it will be.
Stay tuned.
But yeah, so we're going to have some fun. It'll probably be, you'll be able to hear about some of our days, things that have happened. You'll hear some of our discussions, some of the reasons that we do things. So we're real excited about that. There's even a chance that there's going to be something special from our hunt that's going to be on our ElkBros YouTube channel. So stay tuned on that. That'll take a little bit more time to put together. But that's one of our goals. So that's one of our challenges, that we're taking with us to elk camp this year, is we're trying to get a lot of what we do on video. And, as you know, we're building our elk hunting academy. And so we're doing some things there for that as well. So we're pretty excited about that. Also, guys, we really want to thank all of you guys out there that have been subscribing and giving us such incredible, great reviews. Awesome reviews. We go on there, and it just really does our heart good to know that there's so many people out there getting something of value. So while you're listening right now, ladies and gentlemen, we work so hard at giving you free content that is going to make you a successful elk hunter. So how about showing the ElkBros a little bit of love right now on your podcast app? Go and look down and, rate us, man. But first thing, you can subscribe on all those. So go down, make sure that you subscribe to us. When you do that, it shows the amount of listeners we have. That really helps us. And then if you can, on your podcast app, iTunes, or if you're on YouTube, go there and give us a review, give us a rating, and on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So I'm kind of really pushing that out there, and just want to tell you guys that we have thoroughly enjoyed what we've been doing. And if you haven't figure that out by watching us and listening to us, then I tell you, man, you've been missing the boat, because we are having a daggum blast trying to help you guys out.
Absolutely, Joe. I spoke with a really good friend that was in elk camp with us last year. His name is Trey Kistler. He owns Kistler Rod Company here in Magnolia, Texas. And Trey definitely wanted to come hunting again, but he got an opportunity to go with Gary Loomis and go hunt some Roosevelt elk up in Washington, or maybe Oregon. But anyhow, he was in Oregon, and so he wished us the best. He just heard about the podcast and went and rated it and reviewed. He goes, "Dude, y'all are having way too much fun." He goes, and I've been knowing Trey since I was a young man, and that's been a long time. So we wish Trey all the best in his endeavor up there with those Roozies, and I hope he'll send us some pictures pretty quick.
Heck yeah. Hey, Trey, best of luck, man. Go knock them down.
You bet, buddy.
Yep. All right, so let's move on.
Buddy, it's time to get the party started.
Yes, sir.
It's ElkBros shout-out time, Joe.
Shout out.
If you're new to our show, these are just a shout-out to the few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week.
And, those big overall guys, I tell you what, Denver, Minnesota, Albuquerque, Portland, Oregon, Houston, Texas. These states and cities have really been just over the long haul, really doing incredible things for us. But again, these are those that we go and check per week, that get on and listen right away, and we try to recognize them. So, oh, by the way, guys, doing this for y'all has really not only brought us to you, it's brought you to us. I've learned so much about y'all's towns and cities that my wife Loretta, Chav, and my sister-in-law Kathy, we just got done doing a massive road trip up into the Midwest to see some of these places that I have never been up there. We went through 9 Midwest states, and you remember on a podcast, Gilbert, a while back, we gave a shout out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
No doubt. Look at the shirt that Joe's wearing.
Yeah, check that out, guys. Representing right there.
That's too cool.
I was at the falls, man, and it's just awesome, the park was beautiful. We went through Omaha, Nebraska, 9 states, Kansas City, Kansas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, who also has been a huge listener in those top cities for us. So guys, you have broadened our horizons just as much as I don't know about Gilbert. He's been everywhere. I've been everywhere, man. Everywhere.
It goes along with the territory, Joe.
Yeah.
That's
so. I'll get back to the ones that are there, topping the chart this week. Super freak. Yeah. Singer Rick James grew up here, where the city law prohibits the throwing of snowballs here except in designated areas, and what the world now knows as buffalo wings were invented here at the Anchor Bar in 1964. A huge shout out to our listeners in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, next up, located in the northeasternmost part of their state, if you're looking for a whitetail or turkey outfitter in Ohio, you will find the Sun Valley Whitetails Outfitters here, and the Long Retreat and Family Resort, considered a hidden gem for summer fun by all the locals in Latham, Ohio.
Latham, Ohio. Thank you, guys. Ladies and gentlemen in Latham, we sure appreciate you. And it's funny, looking for stuff for them. It was all about having a good time there. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Renamed to honor an assassinated U.S. president, this U.S. city was the home to Hilary Swank and Johnny Carson, and their university's weight room is the largest in the country, covering 3/4 of an acre.
It's big.
It's big, buddy. I mean, that's all and where else, man, where you have them corn huskers? And I was there in Lincoln, Nebraska, not too long ago. Lincoln, Nebraska in the house. Thanks, y'all.
That's so awesome. I've been there, Joe, and I'm telling you, that's the most rabid college football place you'll ever want to play. But some of the kindest people. I've been to, and I won't mention names, Texas A&M, Kyle Field. You don't want to watch a game there if you're against the Aggies, right? I'm telling you, in Lincoln, Nebraska, they treat everybody with respect, and it's a fantastic university. And Lacey and I are going around the country with her playing softball, looking at different colleges. Their facilities there is just crazy. Their weight room is humongous.
Yeah. Before you say the next one, I just want to let those other towns know that you mentioned that is Gilbert at ElkBros.com to send those letters.
All my brother Aggies, they know who they are. We love them all, man. We support all the Texas schools here, that's for sure. But they know my burnt orange blood around here, Joe. So
cool.
Yeah, they're going to throw a whole lot of shade at us for sure. I know that. Next up, this city's known for its castle gardens. The castle is not the home princess or princes or kings or queens. It's not their garden either. This site filled with sandstone that was formed into shapes of castles, Riverton, Wyoming.
Riverton, Wyoming.
In the house. Yes, sir. I bet those guys are ready to go elk hunting too.
Yeah, because I think I had something, Wyoming actually starts September 1st, just like we do, Gilbert.
Yes, sir. I believe you're right.
Yeah,
believe
so
you're right.
they're getting
Yeah,
ready
I
to.
think you're right. It says Wyoming September 1st through the 30th.
Yep, yep, they're
Yep.
packing up just like we are, man. They're getting everything ready, getting everything sharp, man.
You bet.
Okay, last but not least, the Central Mall here is the largest indoor shopping center in Arkansas. And this is cool because my dad actually got to have a beer with Elvis, believe it or not, man. My
Oh,
stepfather.
wow, man, the king.
Yeah, in Germany.
Hey,
Yeah,
all
when they were in
right.
the military together. So, and when Elvis was inducted into the Army in 1958, his haircut heard around the world was done in this city.
Wow.
International visitors still arrive here every day to see that exact haircut spot. Yeah. Fort Smith,
lives.
Arkansas.
Fort Smith, Arkansas in the house. I just left the great state of Arkansas. One of the hardest days of my life, dropping off my child at Ouachita Baptist University in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. But Fort Smith's a great town. We love the state of Arkansas. It's a heck of a beautiful place with lakes and rivers that come through, the Ouachita River and Lake DeGray. I mean, it's a beautiful place. All Arkansas is gorgeous.
Yeah, so you Razorbacks over there, man, you see a young lady with the last name Ornelas, man, y'all treat her good.
Absolutely, for sure.
So,
well, Joe,
season's here, bud.
Bet, man, for sure.
Yeah, and thinking about this is really our last opportunity to hit pretty much. There's some guys that are already up in the hills, but pretty much hit everybody else that's heading up there. And, y'all, we're coaches. The whole thing that this has been about is being your elk hunting coaches. And so we have decided with that, it's pregame time, and we want to be able to cover some things with you to make sure that, hey, man, it's that last minute strategies, those last minute reminders, the things that you tell your athletes, both mind and body, and techniques that are going to carry them through to the game, man. So that's the whole idea right now, Gilbert. So I think the first thing that I want to speak at everybody about is, and I keep getting all of these letters about, well, how should I call like this, or what should I do in this situation, or how many steps do I do backwards around the tree to make sure I don't get centered on the right side, right? You know what I'm saying, man? It's like there's so much that they are absorbing and keeping in the head, and so, guys, the first thing I want to tell you, the same thing I tell my kids out there: don't overthink it. Keep it simple.
KISS.
Yeah, the KISS principle, man. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it when you get there. Guys, this is elk hunting, and these animals have, at this time of year, 4 basic needs: food, water, breeding, and a bedroom. You think about those things right there. Gilbert says all the time. In fact, I was just on the phone with one of our guys that sent in a letter, because I know he's actually going to be in the mountains before this comes out. So I called him up, and he had some of the questions. Same thing. I'm in this great feed area where we found these elk, and they're going up, and basically he's already in the money. He's found where they're feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And you find those cows, you find the bulls.
Mm-hmm.
It's
pretty simple.
That simple.
It is that simple.
I
think a lot of guys overthink it, Joe.
Sure.
And we're all apt to do that. But listen, I tell my kids all the time, there's something that doesn't take talent, and that's effort. If you put the effort in and you do a few little simple things, you're going to really make yourself a whole lot more successful, and you're going to put yourself in better opportunities to be successful.
Exactly.
But it takes effort, man. You guys think y'all are just going to ride down the trail and blow a bugle out the truck and stuff like that, or out off your 4-wheeler. It's going to be different.
Sure.
There might be some places where you could do that, but not where we hunt. You're going to have to put the work in and the miles in. And if you've done some pre-scouting, like your buddy that you talked to, he's done found where they're coming in and feeding. Oh man, he's ahead of the game. Now it's all about wind, and figuring out how to get in between them and making a few sounds to see if there's some bulls around that are going to come in there with them. But I assure you, if there's cows around, they're going to be bulls around.
Definitely. In fact, he's just sent me a video that I got a chance to look at that they shot in an area over there. And out in the flats in the video was about 250 head of elk together. And,
Wow.
One thing I wanted to tell CJ there is that, yeah, that 250 heads together right now, but you watch as soon as them bulls start cutting on that herd and things start going crazy, it's going to
be groups of 20.
It's going to be fun to watch,
Yeah.
And if you have a big group like that and there's plenty of bulls around and with the competition, it could be a really, really good time. But the other thing, guys, like I said, is keep it simple. CJ's found an area where there was feed. Well, what if he goes in there the first day because other people have gone through and they're not in that spot? Well, again, it's an area with a good feed, right? So it's that simple. You just got to keep moving, find the sign, find where those guys are feeding in the morning, at night, and you work that. They need to have food. They got to have water. And right now we're in that transition period when they're going from that pre-rut and heading towards the rut. So there's going to be some really cool things going on. All right.
You bet.
Yeah. A huge one that I want to make sure, especially for our new elk hunters out there and our elk hunters that are coming from the east, please remember this. And I drew on this from talking with Eric from the Where to Hunt. And guys, you are not whitetail hunting. Move, make noise, be aggressive. You're either going to create your opportunities or you're going to miss out. And what I mean by that is I had a guy one time, and man, we are in the middle of a group of elk. And Gilbert, it was one of those where you're hearing right?
Oh, man.
I mean, this guy's glunking.
Yeah.
I'm hearing little whines and stuff like that. I mean, we are amongst them. And this bull is right on the other side of a pine, and this guy has a branch in front of him, and he stayed there frozen solid, man. And the bull walks off, and I'm like,
do I happen to know that guy?
No, this is
wow.
a different one.
A different guy.
This is a different guy. And I was like, Bud, man, why didn't you? He said, if I'd have moved out, I'd have spooked him. And I said, okay, you stayed frozen. How well did that work out for you?
I can guarantee you won't get a shot if you don't try. That's what I can guarantee you.
Yes, sir. Do the math. The same result. At least if this guy makes a move, especially if that bull is moving, you can move. That's the best time to move is when they're moving. So please, guys, get out there, be aggressive, man. I'm talking to one gentleman. He was telling me that they had spotted some elk. By the time they got down to them, they were all the way up the ridge because they were working nice and slow and quiet. You're not able to do that with these critters, man. They are horses with horns. You got to be aggressive. You got to move, and you got to get down on them. Okay?
Antlers, Joe.
So while you do that, Lance, man, I sure am going to miss you this season. I sure am, man. I sure going to miss you, and I want to wish you. I want to wish the whole crew there at Vermejo this season all the best of luck, man. I'm going to miss you, and I hope to be back there possibly, and if not, I want to see you guys, and I want to hear the stories, and you guys go knock them out, because I tell you what, they got a heck of a crew up there at Vermejo, and
no doubt.
And Lance is a A1 game biologist, so
you bet.
So when you see those antlers, Coach, what do you any words you have for anybody in pregame right now? I'm deferring over to you right now.
Yeah, no. Listen, I think one of the big things is these guys, when you're pregaming, is understanding that you touched on it, Joe. It's being aggressive and making your opportunities. And I call, being aggressive is one thing, but when you get an animal that's in the killing zone, okay,
right,
when he's inside your killing zone, it don't matter if he's walking, if he's draw. You have to draw your bow. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen guys not pull their bow back because they were worried about spooking the animal. If you've done your homework and you guys have been even just messing around with a diaphragm call, I put it in your mouth, and when you draw, just make a sound with it. I promise you, if it's
he's in
even
position
close.
to shoot, if he's in position to shoot, give
Yeah.
that little bit of call, and he will stop and
He will stop, and you will
look at
be
you.
able to draw, and he's still going to be puzzled about what that is, because that doesn't look like an elk standing there, right? Or kneeling there or whatever. He's going to give you enough time where you can get it back and let it rip. And even if he doesn't, let's say he boogers, right? He was inside the killing zone, which, you know, it's 30, 40 yards. He starts off and kind of bucks and spins. Yeah. Man, that's all you got. He'll stop. He'll run up there 20 or 30 yards and stop and turn broadside to look at you.
Right.
And I mean, they will give you your opportunities, but you have to get your bow back. I cannot tell you how important that is to draw. I've been with Joe, and I've been with several guys that have been with Joe, and they just didn't draw their bow back. And like he said, how'd that work out for you? You know, blow it up if we got to. But at least we got the bow back. And if the animal gets confused or anything, it just takes a few seconds, guys, when they're in that killing zone to settle that pin where you want it and touch it off, right?
Right.
So,
and I want to clarify for Gilbert on top of that is guys, if you're able to draw when you know that animal's coming into the air and you're able to draw and hold, ahead of time, do that. If you aren't able to, and that animal, once that animal has cleared and is in a shooting, like Gilbert said, killing zone, draw. Sometimes you can draw and bugle to cover that, is what he's talking about. Sometimes just draw and if
stop. The movement will stop you.
That call, that movement alone will get that bull to stop and look at you.
You bet.
And if he does flush a little bit, you cow call, and he's like, oh, that movement, and he's going to stop broadside, like you said. So just to clarify that for you.
Yeah, no, and it's so important to get them in that zone before you do anything.
Right.
Because if you do anything before they're in the killing zone, you can really get it to where they're not standing right or they stop short of the killing zone or anything. As soon as they get in that killing zone, that's when we got to make our move, right?
Right.
So many guys go too early and the bull spots them, right? And they're frontal or, they're behind something or whatever. And, man, then – they're like, well, that don't look like an elk. So, they just trying to get the whiff. And, before you know it, these thermals switch on us and stuff like that. And they get a little gust from the elk gods and bingo, you're looking at tag soup, instead of having a bull on the ground. But I 100% agree with Joe that, man, when it's time to make it happen and they're in that killing zone, get that bow back, man, settle your pin, pick a spot.
Look, if you're a baseball player and you just stand at the plate and you let balls go by, you are never going to get a hit.
You can't hit it. Might as well left your bat at the
gotta swing, man.
dugout. That's it.
Swing. All right.
Yeah, we get 3 swings, 3 strikes. Let's get them all, right? Because out of them 3, if you're pretty good, you're gonna get at least one of them. I tell guys all the time that too when we're bow hunting or everything. Even whitetail guys that are with me, man, I tell draw, and they're like, man, he's looking at me. Draw. I'm like, they're going to stop there and look at you. If you don't get drawn, we never can close this deal.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? They're just going to keep coming, getting closer, get tighter.
Yeah, they're going to stomp their foot and turn and look at you and everything. And I'm like, look, man, you're just giving him more opportunity to blow out of there. If you draw and he turns, and you're going to get a good shot at him.
There you go.
So I think that's one of the biggest deals in pre-gaming is, guys, just when you make your plan and you get a bull or a cow or any illegal elk that you're planning on taking, is make sure that you guys get him in that kill zone and then make your move on him.
And you just brought up a good point, Gilbert, that I hadn't thought about, that I didn't even have on my list to cover in pregame, and that's it. Is your game plan. Guys, stick to your game plan. Don't freak out if you don't see animals the first day. Stick to your game plan, stick to the things that follow the plan and do the simple things that you need to, and don't freak out, man, because remember, elk, an area can be desolate of animals, and it can fill up in 5 minutes.
You
So
bet, man. Them critters can cover some country.
they really can. So, don't go freaking out and getting away from the game plan. All right.
And enjoy it. Enjoy the adventure, man. Enjoy being in the woods. Enjoy being with your partners and your hunting buddies and stuff. I enjoy it. This is a special time of year for me and all my hunting buddies that we share elk camp with. Man, we take a little bit of time out every day to smell the roses and chew a little bit of that dirt and stuff like that, and enjoy what God's created for us to enjoy.
Most definitely, because I tell you what, it is a blessing just to be out there, man.
Amen.
And for our players out there, the one thing that I tell my kids, and just like I'm going to tell you, is understand something. It's going to be hard.
Yep.
We don't do this because it's easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard. Challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Rise to the occasion, guys. Hunt with grit. I mean, we call you our grinders, and because you are our blue collar elk hunters, man. You grind it out every day. All of you grind it out every day with family, job, bills, work, everything. So when you're out there, challenge yourself and understand it's going to be hard. Rise to that occasion. You've worked for this and waited for this all year for this opportunity. So if you're out there 5 days, if you're out there 7 days, that's it. So don't waste any of that. Don't get out there and go, man, it's just not happening, and give up on yourself. Don't you dare do that, man.
Yeah.
Like Gilbert said, enjoy the adventure. Be the elk. Take in all the moments out there, because you're gonna experience and see some incredible things that nobody else. I mean, when you hear that bugle out there, for some of you, it's going to be the first time, or the first time you have one scream that comes
in
your face. You cannot explain that to somebody and them understand that. It's just something extremely special there.
It's almost like experiencing your child being born. You just can't explain what that feels like until you go through it. I mean, we hunt with so much passion, and so much confidence and determination, and then you just kind of let everything else take care of itself.
That's exactly
but
right.
As long as you put that effort in and have a great attitude, and you're going to have some opportunities if you're doing your homework and everything. But it's really about enjoying the experience for us. And camp is so awesome. Putting the work in all off season. We've all been. I'm not getting any younger. Joe's not getting any younger. So you have to modify some of your training regimens because you've got some old injuries that rear their weary heads. But, we've done our due diligence. We've taken off some weight. We've gotten in good shooting shape. We've made some adjustments on our equipment that's better. Technology's advanced. Joe keeps pumping us up with the passion that he has for this every week. And, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to get out there with my brothers and knock them down. My wife thinks she goes, I think all of y'all do up there in camp is cry and tell stories with one another,
So, well, we got a little bit of crying to do up there too, because you people out there don't know, but our group just got one member bigger. Because Manano Grateron and his wife Ana Karina have just had a beautiful baby boy.
Tomaso say, right?
Tomaso say.
Yeah, boy.
No, don't be
shout out to our brothers from Venezuela, man. Our Venezuelan mafia is pro, +1 now, man.
Yes,
Tomas Jose is in the house, and we can't wait to get him to elk camp with us.
There you go. So you guys remember, love to compete, love to hunt, have the passion. Everything else takes care of itself. All right.
Amen.
So let's go to topic 2. Let's talk about help these guys out with dealing with or avoiding hanging bull, a bull hanging up on
We've
them.
had that happen a few times, haven't we, Joe?
Sure, man. Crap happens,
You
as
bet.
long as we eat, crap happens. So,
Exactly.
but why does a bull hang up? Let's understand what's happening there is that you have been calling to a bull, and that bull has pinpointed where that last call came from. And especially if he's and this is where it happens, is an area of visibility. That bull comes in 80 yards and knows that there's a cow or another bull within that 80 yards, and they can see that far. They're looking and expecting to see another critter. Okay.
That's right.
And a lot of times that happens because a lot of guys will take and they'll bugle, especially with a lot of those volume tubes, and they bugle or they cow call through it at that animal. And you don't even have to do that. But if you do that, you're sending that sound so that animal even thinks you're a little bit closer than what you are. If you do give a cow call, a normal cow call, I tell you what, they are experts on pegging that distance. So most of the time, a bull hanging up is our fault. It's from our decisions, from our actions, or our inactions. And, either we have set up incorrectly. A lot of times, Gilbert, when we set up so that we want to be able to see a bull coming from a long distance.
Yeah.
Well, now we've set ourselves up for a bull hanging up because, sure, we can see the bull, but that bull can see a long distance too, and he's wondering where in the heck that cow is. So, that's what happens when a bull hangs up. And you can yell at that bull all you want, but that bull's like, well, where the heck are you?
Especially if he's got cows, Joe. If he's got cows with him, it's almost impossible sometimes to pull him off.
Sure.
They hang up. They don't want to lose that cow that's away from them, but they don't want to leave, especially if there's other bulls in the area. They don't want to leave what they got either.
Especially if they can't see what's calling to them, man.
I've seen them just whip around, man, and start whipping his cows into shape and pushing them.
Right.
And he wants them away from them other bulls.
But understand something, y'all. There's things that you can do, number one, to cause that not to happen, or if it does happen, there's some things you can do. So we're going to give you some strategies now. And one of them has to do with your setup. There's when you call to an animal, we used to teach this to our point guards in basketball. When a point guard makes a pass, they need to move. They don't want to stay in the area they passed from because the defense knows where they're at, right? Same thing, man. As soon as if you end up having a cow call and you get that response and you know that animal, you determine that animal's coming. If you're a solo hunter, especially, you've got to get moving up 30, 40 yards at this time. And, we tell you to be noisy all the time, but this is the one time you don't want to be noisy, because if he hears that noise coming up, he does assume it's another elk, and he does pinpoint that noise, and he does expect to see that elk when he comes there. But if you're calling from back there, especially if you throw your calls behind you, and then that bull replies, you can tell that he's moving in on you. You want to move up and you want to move to the downwind side. So it's kind of like a little button hook or a little L. You're going to go up 30, 40, and you're going to move to the downwind side. That way, when that bull circles the scent check, now that 80-yard hang up becomes a 40-yard shot. Right? Okay. So remember that. Now in the two-person setup, same thing. You want that person to get up there 30 and 20, 30 or 40 and 20. And now you as the caller are going to work that bull past. It's a whole lot easier to bring a bull that's hung up on a two-man setup than there is on a solo hunter.
You bet.
Okay. Most of these, questions that we got on a bull being hung were from guys that were solo hunting out there. So I have every bull I've killed in the last 33 years has been, I've called that bull in. So I've acted as a solo hunter, guys. So it can definitely be done. Second strategy is you need to use thicker cover or terrain for your setup. Again, you want to have shooting windows, but you don't want to have shooting windows for 60 yards. You want to set up where it's that bull, you want to take away his advantage to be able to see you from 80 yards. You want to set up in an area that's thick or cover between you and that bull, so that bull has to come past that cover in order to be able to see that cow or see that bull there. So you are going to still be in front of cover, but you're going to utilize your setup by getting some thickness to divide, like a screen between you and that bull coming in. Okay. So use the cover of the environment. If it's an area where there's not a lot of vegetation, then use the hills or the dips in the terrain so that that animal has to come over a hill, a rise, to be able to see you and be in shooting position. So you got to understand where that's at, man. And Gilbert, you were talking about being able to pull the bow. Whenever you're using a rise or using terrain like that to get your shot, perfect opportunity, because you see the tips of those horns, man. And you see the tips of those horns, boom, you're back.
You bet.
Right?
You bet. Yeah, he has no clue you're there. He's just easing on up there, looking for whoever's talking. And you know, but you're already back, man. It's on like Donkey Kong then.
And that animal is going to come out and top up and stop and look. And then he's either going to go to one side or the other because he needs to scent check that area. So, you know, remember, guys, it's your decisions, your actions, or your inactions that's going to cause that animal to stall. Okay.
Right.
So these are things that you can do. Number 3 is huge, man. And remember, when a bull comes and is looking for something, he's looking for visual confirmation of another elk. So the best thing you can use for visual confirmation, we talked about in our last podcast, is a decoy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. So you can either use a decoy that you set up. I think that Ultimate Predator, it can be hung in a tree, and when you move up, or you can have that puppy on the front of your bow, and that animal is going to come across and see that. And let me tell you what, here's a little secret to that. When that bull comes up and he sees that decoy, he might stop and look at it. Take your hand up there and take that ear and just flick that ear one time, man. And he sees that movement on that ear. And I tell you what, that puts it to him right there. All right.
I love the decoy thing, man. I think it adds an element to the hunt that it makes the elk more comfortable, right? When they come walk in. They're a social animal. They like to see other elk. So when you can do something like that, especially bulls, they see the butt end of a cow, or, you know, that Montana decoy that you got. I mean, dude, that it's been money.
Yeah, there you go. And you know, the cool thing, you know, that Ultimate Predator, guys, like, well, and it has that shoot through window mounted on the front of your bow. You get to draw, and it has no problem with the animal when you draw. So it covers your draw. And the thing is that animal is sometimes going to come straight at you. But again, if you're patient, they're going to turn to scent check. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So I think that's a great option. And fourth is, what if you were not able to do all those things and that bull does hang up? And here's what the scenario looks like. The bull comes over the hill, he drops down, he stops, he's looking, and he bugles, he looks, he gets nothing. And next thing you know, he turns and he walks off. And as you see him walking off, what do? You know, you crank off again, or you cow call, do something like that. He will turn around and come to the exact same spot that he came to. I've had bulls do that 4 times, right? Mm-hmm. So what you need to do, though, is you need to recognize that after that bull comes in the second time like that, you shut up and get up there, cut that distance.
Get to the downwind side of him.
Get on the downwind side of it, get where you got a good shot where that animal came last that he was comfortable at. Throw that cow call back behind you, or that bugle, whatever you were using, so that it's going back behind you, and get ready. Okay. There's a good chance, because there's plenty of bulls that have gone down to that more than once. All right.
No doubt.
So there's our strategies for you guys that we're asking about That was a wham bam thank you right there. So
Hey man, that's great. 4 great strategies for everybody that's going to be in the hills here shortly. I mean, these things are, yes, great content, Joe. These things can really help our hunters out for sure. I can't, I'm soaking it all in myself. I'm fixing to be pounding the ground with you. So I'll be, can't wait.
all right, so I guess we covered those. Let's head over to the ElkBros Mailbox. And
Yeah, man.
you guys out there, don't forget, where are they going to send their questions to, Gilbert?
They're going to send their questions to info. That's info at elkbros.com. info at elkbros.com.
Oh, and before I go on, Gilbert, man, Unleashed 2. I'm hearing people just had a great time with that.
I had a great time doing it.
It's really, it set another record for first day listens for us. So, thanks for sharing those stories with everybody. And I tell you what, I'm going to tell everybody out here, Gilbert's still holding back because it's almost,
well, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to keep it PG.
No, well, I don't mean it that way, bro. I mean, it almost seems sometimes like you're trying to not wake somebody up or something like that. Because I tell you what, this dude, just about every time he talks about an elk, you get imitations of elk. You get what sounds like when a tree breaks. So we get all these sound effects and stuff. So, yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to get my studio built, Joe, so I can go ahead and be all unleashed. Branches cracking, and elk bugling.
I like when you talk about, and that bull came and got in my face, and he went, how, Gilbert? How's he go?
Yeah, man, they're crazy.
All right, so back to the mailbox.
I've been in a lot of places and been intimidated by not much, but I guarantee you, when you get an elk right there in your face, brother, I'm telling you, don't get any better than that.
So our first letter is from Kyle Skaletsky from Platteville, Wisconsin. And Kyle says that where I'm going to be hunting is thought to have a lot of hunting pressure, and there are tons of four-wheeler trailers all over the units. I understand to get away from crowds, you can out-hike the competition, but I'm sure there are pockets of elk roads near or pockets of elk near roads and trails that a lot of guys blow right past. How does a guy go about finding overlooked spots in heavily trailed areas? What kind of sign should I be looking for, like steep ridges next to trails, small drainages and lower elevations? So that was his question that he had. And you know what, Kyle, you're exactly right. There's a ton of elk that a lot of people go right by. And the first thing I would tell you is that those areas between those trails are corridors, and if you can recognize where feed areas are, bedding areas that go through that, they're going to cross through those areas. So you've got to be the person that, if it's a mile, 2 miles between roads out there, you got to be the one that parks that bike and bails off into there and finds where those animals inside, because we kill elk every year in areas between all those ATV trails with people driving all around.
Oh yeah, man! That big bull I arrowed a couple years ago, I could hear four-wheelers behind me. Sure. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and some had come through not 30, maybe 15, 18 minutes before we got in that big herd. It was wild.
And I'll tell you, Kyle, when you talk about small drainages and lower elevations, a lot of times, a lot of those lower elevations, what people call ugly country. You get a lot of scrub oak, you get a lot of different types of either juniper, different types, and depending on where you're hunting. But
he didn't say where he was hunting, huh, Joe?
Let's see.
And he said he's from Wisconsin, but he didn't say if he was in New Mexico
I'm really
or
not
Colorado.
sure where he's at. I have a feeling it's Colorado, but
guys, that'd be helpful when y'all send us questions. Please let us know where you're hunting, what type of terrain maybe. That'll help us get a little bit better fix on what you got going on.
If you did that and I left it out, my bad, dude. But I'm going to tell you, those small drainages and some of those lower elevations, any of those areas that, you can go on Onyx and you can see where the routes are, where people take, and then you can see where those north and northeast heavily treed ridges are that might have a food source down in the bottom. That's just even just like a little hidden park or anything like that can be great areas to hunt. Okay.
Yeah, Carl Gamage and I, the late Carl Gamage and I, when I killed my first cow I ever killed in my life, I was with him, and we traversed this massive, this massive little mountain in front of us, and went up a fence line and got to the very top. And I mean, we topped out at that thing, and oh man, gosh, we were tired and whipped. And when we got to the top, it's just a little tabletop, man. It probably wasn't 300 or 400 yards wide by 300 or 400 yards wide, right? And it just kind of, we were on top, and we sat down to eat a little bit of granola, and I turned and looked, and there's an elk standing there to my left, to my left, just feeding on oak brush.
Right.
I kind of poked him in the leg, and I just motioned to him like that. He turned and he goes, he's like, oh my gosh, we just eased up in there and sat down amongst them,
Right.
And she kind of milled around and moved on and everything. We had a bull coming down, and I could see that bull working his way down. So I just made a little cow call, and man, he lit up, and here he come. And he hung up at about 80 yards, and I had some equipment in front of me that I couldn't weave something through. And I mean, he's broadside at 78 yards, but there's just some stuff above me that I just can't thread it through. And I turn and look straight below us. Carl tapped me on the side, and straight below us, this cow walks out at 44 yards. And I drew on her, and he did not think I was ever going to kill that cow, right? That with that bull standing over there, right? He had no clue. And I drew, man, she like, put it right here, boss, right? I mean, for real. I drew that bow back, poof, and I let it go, and it freaked him out. He had no clue that I was going to shoot that cow. But I mean, seriously, I've got a picture of Carl holding the heart of that elk and with the hole right through it. I mean, we hearted her, but it was in a real little spot.
Well, I don't know if you remember or not, but I came into camp 2 days after Carl was in there. I come into camp, and Carl says, we haven't seen an elk, dude. I'm worried, in 2 days. And I said, really? I said, I just drove past a herd right at coming off the road.
Yeah.
Same story, Kyle, man. Everybody had driven in past all of these elk. Yep. So they went back to where, I mean, they were just off the road by a half mile, and that's where the herd was. So you're exactly right. There's animals that a lot of people go right on by. So
and there was a bunch of them in there. When we blew that herd up, man, there were a bunch of elk up on top, and you could hear them. You could really hear them going off.
Definitely.
After we lit that one up, it was cool. It was too cool, man. It was one of my greatest moments hunting, for sure, to be with Carl and do that.
So our next question is from Keenan Gibson out of Western Kansas. And it was kind of interesting. He says, I was wondering what color of headlamp y'all use when hunting elk. I've always used a red lamp hunting whitetail since they can't see red. Do you use normal white headlamp when going out before daylight, or none at all? Or in your opinion, does it matter? I don't know. Gilbert, what do you use?
I have two different types. I do have a red lens on my lamp, and then I have white. Normally when I'm using a lamp, it's because I can't see, right? In some of those dark nights and stuff like that, when we're done hunting and I'm coming back, I'll turn my headlamp on, but
definitely,
or while I'm riding a bike or something like that. But
and I like a white headlamp. I don't, sometimes a red, some things can get dark shadowed out, and you can end up with a twig or something sticking you in the eye going through thick stuff. And the thing is when we are walking, we want our lamps going down at the ground. Mm-hmm. If we're going to start doing some calling, we turn everything off so we can look up, and we don't want light shining all over the woods. We want to be in the dark. We want to be in the silence. And I'll tell you another thing about a red headlamp. I was coming back to camp before GPS, and actually it was GPS, but I would use my compass instead of using the battery on the GPS. And I've got my red headlamp, and I'm following that sucker, and I'm going back, and I know camp is north. And one of my buddies taps me on the shoulder and said, Joe, I think we're going the wrong way. And I'm like, no, dude, look at that, man. That thing, that white part of that tab is pointing perfectly north. You know, we're going the right way. Well, you know what a red headlamp does to a red part on a compass? It makes it white.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt.
so the compass was actually changing the color of the dial on
Wow.
the compass from my headlamp, and made me think I was actually using it correctly when I was going in an opposite direction. So there's one for y'all out there.
No doubt. 180 out.
180 out, dude. All right, next one from Tim Boyett out of St. Maries, Idaho. In fact, I think we've had them in a shout out.
No doubt.
He said, "What packs are you guys using for day hunting and meat hauling?" And you know, for our hauling, we use freighter packs that are just Kelty hauler packs that you can get from Sportsman Supply. Man,
I've got one pretty close by, Joe, if you want me to pick it up and show it. But
yeah, you can show it if you want to. And I'll tell everybody that as far as my day pack, I've got a couple things. I have a pack that my wife has made for me that I really like to use. It's just a day pack that's pretty silent, and most of our group is using Badlands packs. Yeah, it's really hard to beat those for day packs.
so here's my 10 zig pack that I wear. Guys, I'd use a couple different packs. This is actual fanny pack that rests on your shoulders. You can put quite a bit of stuff in here. I think this is the 10 zig TZ 930. So it's been a great pack. I since ordered a Badlands pack like Joe uses. We're going to put it to the test this year. But I've been using this. My bugle tube goes right across the top with my rain gear. It's got great straps to go with it. Y'all can see my bugle tube. It sits right there on the top. Got great pockets for your your GPS, your wind checker, all of that. I mean, y'all can see it right here. So, but
and
that's
it's
what
nice to have. It's nice to have side pockets that you can just drop in your rangefinder and just, or your binos, and just access them real easy without having to do a lot of work for it. So
my frame pack's in the garage, Joe. I thought it was sitting behind me, but it's not.
That's
it's in
all
the
good.
Garage.
That's all good, man. So whatever that you can have that's going to stay quiet on your shoulders, is going to stay on your back, be comfortable, and doesn't carry too much gear. One of our friends asked us the other day, he's an engineer, so they're kind of minded like that, how much his pack should weigh. And I tell you this, most guys carry more stuff than they need. So
especially if you're hunting with a guide.
Yeah. If you're on your own, even, I just see they feel like they got to have everything in camp with them, and you don't. You got to have your kill kit, got to have your small first aid kit. You got to have, your food, your rain gear, if you have a little change of clothes, and then those important things like the most important thing is your wind checker. Got to have your rangefinder if you use a rangefinder, those types of things. So, your grunt tube, your calls,
extra release in case something happens to if you use a release.
Your flashlights, and make those light. And they make incredible lights now that are really, really bright, that don't weigh a whole lot. So
exactly.
Just make sure you
have good sharp knife. And guys, don't forget your tags. Put your tags in your backpacks for sure.
Luckily, that doesn't weigh anything. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Heck, they got them now, Joe, where a lot of these states are going to electronic tags. They're on your iPhone and everything. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. In fact,
getting more and more friendly.
I think you can do that in New Mexico.
You can. I'm just kind of old school. I like to have my tag with me.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to notch something out, dude.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely.
Get a good picture of that.
Good luck, Tim. Go get them in Idaho, brother. We want to see some pictures.
So he's got 2 more questions here. Yeah, so don't get rid of Tim yet there, bro.
Oh, sorry.
First he said, and his next one was, and I'm going to be real short because this can go a long ways. And he said, next, what broadheads do you recommend and why? And here's how I'm going to put it. I'm going to tell you that you want to use whatever broadhead is a fixed blade broadhead that has a cut on contact or chisel tip on it, and flies great with your setup. You know, Gilbert has some that he uses. Every animal I've ever killed in the last 35 years has been killed, stung by the wasp. But I'm instinctive, and I've been with my wife, and I have been married for 37 years. When I find something that works, I stick with it.
I don't blame you either, Joe. It's a great head. You guys, Wasp has really come on with some cool technology, better blades. They teamed up with Havalon now.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's been fantastic. Read all the great reviews. I guarantee you, I'm going to tune some to my bow this year and see how they fly. I'm a big proponent of that chisel tip, but I will tell you guys, Joe and I both shoot. They're man-sized bows, right? I mean, these bows are really, when they call them nuclear bows, I mean, ours fly at real fast rates. We pull heavy poundages. When you use a chisel tip or a punch cut, we call it, you've got to shoot a bow that can really get that chisel into where it needs to be. And has some KE to split bone when it needs to.
And that's why I go with a 125 grain as well.
Right,
I want that energy on my bow. So
you bet. And Joe's 100% right. Shoot what flies well with your bow in your killing distance, right? There's several different brands: Muzzy, Trocar, the Bloodsport Wraith I shoot, and the Wasp. But any of those products right there, man, you can't go wrong. We'd stay away from them. And there's a lot of guys that hunt with mechanicals. I just don't. I've had a lot of issues with them on getting pass-throughs. And Joe says it 1,000 times. You want two holes, an entrance and an exit.
That's exactly right.
These animals are big, strong, athletic animals. And, I've said it a million times. I don't care if it's a bull elephant or a field mouse. If you get it double lung, you're going to kill that animal.
And if you don't know where that location is, you can go on to our YouTube channel, and we have a video on there on shot placement. Yeah, so check it out, awesome. and that'll help you out. His last question was, lastly, please go over your ice method for meat management in hot weather. And Tim, we bone out our meat and put it in coolers ASAP. And it's covered in ice to meat. So we get those pieces boned out. We put in a layer inside our cooler. We throw some ice on top of that layer. We get another layer. We put ice on it, and we want to bury that meat in ice. And what's going to happen is that ice is going to melt. Not all of it, and especially if you're in any of these great molded coolers that they're out there these days. And there's several great brands out there that do that.
That's right.
But if you get those in there, a lot of that ice is going to still stay frozen, but a lot of it's going to melt because of that meat, and it's going to end up in an ice bath after a few days. If it does start to get to a point where there's not ice in there, we will drain some of that water out, add ice back into the water. We don't get rid of all the water. We like the idea of that water, that meat being surrounded by the water, leaching it out, and it's going to leach that blood. You can keep it in there 5, 9, 11 days, as long as you keep it in ice water. And I tell you what, unless it's and we haven't had to do it. We have never hung our meat, and that's how we've handled our meat for many years. And we got incredible tasting meat. It's tender as heck. I will tell you, keep your coolers in the shade as much as possible.
We do that. We actually build us a little place to put our coolers.
Right.
It's shady.
And that'll help you with the need for more ice. But I tell you what, don't worry about the fact that there's water in there. You stick your hand in there, and if it hurts your hand, that meat's doing just fine, man.
It's doing good.
Yep. And
for sure, Joe, when we bone out our meat too, it's allowing it a chance to cool. So it's not as hot when you put it on there fresh, and it doesn't melt all your ice. A lot of times, we get back to elk camp, and it's chilly, where we hunt. So
Right.
at night it's going to dip into the 30s, 40s. So meat's going to be just fine. When you get up the next morning, you bone that sucker out and the meat's had a chance to cool. You get it on that ice and man, it'll last a good long time.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to remember that, heat, uh, especially anything over 40 degrees, that's when bacteria starts getting, and that heat is your enemy. So you want to get that stuff on ice as soon as possible. Okay. And, I've heard people say, well, should I put it in a river or something like that? There's bacteria in a river.
Yeah.
Now, if I was in a situation where that's all I had to try to save my meat, heck
Sure.
yeah, I would do that, and then
Yeah.
I'd make sure I clean my meat off real good when I get it off there. But
Those guys up in Alaska, they make them a meat cache.
Yeah.
They'll dig a hole and
Sure.
stuff like that and keep
And
their
that
meat down there.
permafrost.
Yeah, they'll do things like that. But hadn't had to do that. We bring several coolers full of ice, and we've been really lucky, I guess. I mean, and then we've had to come down a couple times to get some more ice, not on purpose, but because somebody knocked a bull down.
Right.
Or, we needed something or another, and we can reload with some ice
Sure.
if we need be.
No, man. So that's ours. And remember that we're not putting our meat in plastic bags. We're putting it in the cooler, ice to the meat. Okay.
Yep.
So that's how we're doing that. And I'm actually going to stop right there on the mailbox. We got PJ and a couple other guys that PJ Hennigan from Bend, Oregon, that sent in a question, and I talked with PJ. We actually had a phone conversation just a little early
awesome.
this evening. So I was able to talk to him personally because I know he's getting ready to get in the hills. So we're going to hold his till next week. We'll discuss that then. And we've got a couple other questions, Gilbert. But remember, if you like what we're doing, please, again, go right down right now, find the button and subscribe. Go ahead, rate and review us. And if you go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please leave us a review on that. And you can always check out more of our elk hunting content. We got videos, we have some tutorials, we got stories. Just go to ElkBros.com to check that out. And for all of you listeners out there, if you have any questions, as you can tell, man, I tell you, there is no question we're not going to answer. Send it to us. It'll get answered on the show. Sometimes we give you a phone call, but just send your questions to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. And from the absent Gilbert Ornelas, who we just lost here. He just texted me his computer went out on him. So from Gilbert Ornelas, from Joe Gilia here in Cimarron, New Mexico, and from my brother Leroy Chavez, who's not here this evening, we're going to wish you guys a great evening. For all you guys heading out, we hope to see you in the mountains. Keep your broadhead sharp and knock them down. Have that confidence, have that passion. The rest takes care of itself. Good night, y'all.